Don't you hate when you forget something? Caroline, you forgot to remind me. Good morning. It's great to see everybody here, and happy Valentine's Day to you. Oh, thank you. Yes, it is a red day. This morning, I thought we would do something beneficial. I think as not just a preacher, but as an adult, we should teach our young ones what life is going to be about. And I already promised Mr. Brashear there will be no math today. And so we won't have to worry about that. I need Taylor Cloud to come down here. Yeah, I got the eyebrow raise. Yeah. You in trouble now. You look like a deer in front of headlights. This is Taylor Cloud. If you've never met Taylor, you need to meet him. He's a splendid young man. How old are you, Taylor?
18.
18. You remember 18? All right. Are you working yet?
I have an interview today.
He has an interview today for a job. First job? Second job. Where are you interviewing?
I think Vector.
Vector. What's that?
It's to sell Cutco knives.
Oh, he's going to be selling knives. So watch out. All right.
Good luck with your interview.
I love you and your family. I just want you to know that before you come at me with a knife. All right. All right. Come here. Don't be nervous. We're going to teach Taylor what life is going to be like. 18. All right. 18. 18. You're going to get a job. All right. Now, a job is important because you're going to earn money. And with said money, you're going to be able to take care of your own stuff. Right, Dad? You're going to be buying your own gas. One day you'll be buying your own food. One day you'll be paying for rent to live somewhere. All while trying to balance work, possibly even in this stage in life, work and school. Or in your case, as I know, work, school, and sports are very important. And so you're going to start out with a job. But as we all know, time stands still for no one. Life keeps going, and something my dad used to always tell me, and which I wish I paid more attention to when I was younger, is that time flies after high school. After you graduate, time is going to jet across. Isn't that right? Yes. So one day, as you're working and going to school, you're going to meet her. You are going to meet her. Who is the her? The her that you will marry one day. And give your mom the most wanted grandchildren that she has been waiting for, because she doesn't care about you anymore. She wants the grandkids. Now you're going to be still focusing on job, and you're going to still be focusing on work. You know why? Because she is also going to want money in order to take care of her. Not in a bad way, but you'll need the money to woo her and to take her out and to also provide not just the apartment that you might be starting out living in right now, but the house. Now you have a house to take care of and to pay for, and you need the job to keep her happy so you can help pay for the house. And also on top of having the house, you're also going to have to learn to be a painter. And you're going to have to learn to be an electrician and a plumber and a contractor and a mechanic and all this other fun stuff. Even if you don't have the knowledge to do it yourself, you're going to have to be able to find somebody to do it for you, which also takes the money. And also you got to do this while keeping your wife very patient. He's not smiling anymore, you see. But then, as time moves forward, because time does not stop for any man, one day, if you have a typical marriage, one day there will be children. He dropped the baby! What's wrong? That's why I wanted a teenager. A little kid wouldn't have a chance. You're going to have a baby. You're going to have children. Now all of a sudden, now you don't need to just be able to be an electrician, a plumber, a painter, and a contractor. Now you're going to be a parent. You're going to be one of us. You're going to have to be a teacher. You're going to be a theologian. You're going to be a disciplinarian. You're going to have to be a camp counselor. You're going to have to be an event coordinator. You're going to have to be an accountant. And you're going to have to be a science teacher and a phys ed coach. All wrapped into one. And while all this is going on, over here, while you're doing all this, your wife is going to be sitting over here saying, "You don't pay me any more attention." Because there's no time. Y'all,
Is that it?
yeah, that's it. Is that enough? This is life, yes? Y'all give Taylor a hand. He was a good sport. Thank you, brother. Life, 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 life. There is not enough time. Not enough time. That came out with a song back in the day, "Time is on my side." No, it's not. Because there's not enough time. We, as a people, are exhausted. We are stressed out and exhausted. I found, in getting ready for this letter, I came across this article. I'm going to read part of it. It's called "The Busy Trap" by Tim Creeder. And it was written back in June 30th, 2012. So almost 4 years ago. This is what he had to say. And see if you can relate. If you live in America in the 21st century, you've probably had to listen to a lot of people tell you how busy they are. It's become the default response when you ask anyone how they're doing. Busy. So busy. Crazy busy. It is pretty obvious a boast disguised as a complaint. And the stock response is a kind of congratulation. That's a good problem to have, or better than the opposite. Notice it isn't generally people pulling back-to-back shifts in the ICU or commuting by bus to 3 minimum wage jobs who tell you how busy they are. What those people are is not busy, but tired, exhausted, dead on their feet. It's almost always people whose lamented busyness is purely self-imposed. Work and obligation they've taken on voluntarily. Classes and activities they've encouraged their kids to participate in. They're busy because of their own ambition and drive, or anxiety because they're addicted to busyness and dread what they might have to face in its absence. Almost everyone I know is busy. They feel anxious and guilty when they aren't either working or doing something to promote their work. They schedule in time with friends the way students with 4.0 GPAs make sure to sign up for community service because it looks good on their college applications. I recently wrote a friend to ask if he wanted to do something this weekend, and he answered that he didn't have a lot of time, but if something was going on, to let him know, and maybe he could ditch work for a few hours. I wanted to clarify that my question had not been a preliminary heads up to some future invitation. This was the invitation. But his busyness was like some vast churning noise through which he was shouting at me, and I gave up trying to shout back over it. Even children are busy now. Scheduled down to the half hour with classes and extracurricular activities. They come home at the end of the day as tired as grown-ups. I was a member of the latchkey generation and had 3 hours of totally unstructured, largely unsupervised time every afternoon. Time I used to do everything from surfing the World Book Encyclopedia to making animated films to getting together with friends in the woods to chuck dirt clods directly into one another's eyes. All of which provided me with important skills and insights that remain invaluable to this day. Those free hours became the model for how I wanted to live the rest of my life. The present hysteria is not necessary or inevitable condition of life. It's something we've chosen, if only by our acquiescence to it. Not long ago, I Skyped with a friend who was driven out of the city, New York by the way, by high rent and now has an artist residency in a small town in the south of France. She described herself as happy and relaxed for the first time in years. She still gets her work done, but it doesn't consume her entire day and brain. She says it feels like college. She has a big circle of friends who all go out to the cafe together every night. She has a boyfriend again. She once ruefully summarized dating in New York. Everyone's too busy and everyone thinks they can do better. What she had mistakenly assumed was her personality, driven, cranky, anxious, and sad, turned out to be a deformative effect of her environment. It's not as if any of us wants to live like this, any more than any one person wants to be a part of a traffic jam or stadium trampling or the hierarchy of cruelty in high school. It's something we collectively force on one another. Busyness serves as a kind of existential reassurance, a hedge against emptiness. Obviously, your life cannot possibly be silly or trivial or meaningless if you are so busy, completely booked, and demand every hour of the day. I once knew a woman who interned at a magazine where she wasn't allowed to take lunch hours out, lest she be urgently needed for some reason. This was an entertainment magazine whose raison d'etre was obviated when menu buttons appeared on remotes. So it's hard to see this pretense of indispensability as anything other than a form of institutional self-delusion. More and more people in this country no longer make or do anything tangible. It's your job wasn't performed by a cat or a boa constrictor in a Richard Scarry book. I'm not sure I believe it's necessary. I can't help but wonder whether all this histrionic exhaustion isn't a way of covering up the fact that most of what we do doesn't matter. So you feel busy? Feel tired, exhausted? Life bogging us and weighting us down. Isn't it interesting that there was actually a law in the law of Moses to give people a day off? Have you ever sat back and just contemplated that? On penalty of death. You will take a day off. You will go fishing or you die. God set a precedent for it in Genesis 2. The creation of the world in 6 days. And on the seventh day, He stopped. He rested. I remember when I was a child and they would have the pictures of the days of the creation. Day 7 was the cloud with the Z's coming out of it like God was sleeping or snoring because God rested. God doesn't need a nap. He stopped. He took a day off. Because He needed it? No. He was trying to show us something. He was trying to show us that weekly we need time off because we, by our choices, are burning ourselves out. We are burning ourselves out. Because we are taking on so much on ourselves. And we're weighing ourselves down with so many things that we think are so important. But if we stepped back and looked at it, we say, goodness sakes, maybe it's not as important as what I think it is. My mom's a private nanny. And she worked with a family for a decade. Why? Because her employer forgot how to raise kids and she didn't know how to do it anymore. So she tried to keep my mom around forever. She came home sad one day from work. And when he asked, I said, Mom, what's wrong? And she said that the little girls, she had 2 girls that she was watching over. She said the little girls just came home and they're just crying. It's like, why were they crying? She says, well, their parents have them in school, obviously. But they also do horseback riding and gymnastics and the rich person version of Girl Scouts. I don't know what you call it. But in cooking classes and in all these, up to 10 extracurricular activities that they do weekly. And so they came home from school one day and they went to their mom and they said, Mom, we just want to stay home and play. And that killed my mother. Because I don't think the mom let him do that. He said, no, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to go. And on and on and on and on and on and on and on. We're exhausted. We're tired. But to be busy is to be an adult. Yes? No. Because again, God didn't want us to be this way. And it's interesting because the busier we get, you say, well, what does this have to do? This sounds like a life coach thing. Well, it's not. It is, but it isn't, because we're about to turn it more to what we need to worry about. It's been my observation of other ministers, that the busier we get, there does come a breaking point in which activities and duties do need to be sacrificed, and they are sacrificed. But the observation is, once we get so busy that we can't think anymore, what do we think gets sacrificed first? Our relationship with God. Number one. We're tempted this way. Isn't it interesting that my wife on the phone, she gets notices from Cartwheel, which Cartwheel is one of the Target coupon apps. Guess what day they come out? Sunday morning. Isn't that amazing? Phone's quiet from Target all week long until Sunday morning. It rings up with all the deals that you could possibly have. Isn't it interesting that the heaviest night for my kids to have homework every week is Wednesday? Isn't that fantastic? Isn't it interesting how every 6 weeks, when they have the big Chuck E. Cheese celebration to mark the end of the 6 weeks, they get sheets of coupons and free tokens for Chuck E. Cheese for that Wednesday evening? Isn't that fantastic? What are the odds? Time management. If we allow it, if we don't have it, it can run away with us. And then we start lying to ourselves and said, okay, I only have so much hour in a day and I still have a bunch of stuff to do. What can go? What can we sacrifice? What can we cut? Let's cut away our time with church family. We can make up for it later. And you know what? I've been there. I totally understand. And there have been times where we're like, oh, here we go again. And we start thinking, well, maybe we can make up for it. Maybe it won't be that. We'll only do it once. It won't turn into a habit. Yes, it will. Yeah, it will. And if we're not careful, anything can drive us away. Relationship with God. I'm not even talking about just coming here as a church family, but it can cut into our reading time. It can cut into our prayer time. It can cut into our meditation time. It can cut into anything it can cut into our service time. Any time that we have set aside, it's just going to be me and God. If we're not careful, that will go first, followed by family. But it's not a new problem. It's an old problem. And it's also interesting because we do have an example of this in the Bible, of this type of thinking going on. And that's in Luke 10, if you'd like to flip there. Luke chapter 10. Luke chapter 10 and verse 38. Now, this is a very familiar biblical account. Look at it with fresh eyes and catch what's going on. Luke chapter 10 and verse 38. It says, as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that has to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. Jesus and his disciples go into a town. Now, if this is just Jesus and the 12, there's 13 people go into town. Martha, sister to Mary, also as we find out in John, there's a group of siblings, Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. But Martha goes out and meets this group, Jesus and his 12 disciples, and invites them to their home for a meal. There's a lot of people to come to dinner last minute. But they wanted to do it. You know, Sherry and I, we love entertaining people. We love having people into our home. We love cooking for people. That's one of the reasons we have a small group at our house on Sunday evenings at 6 o'clock. Just so that we can have people in our home, because we love having people over and treating them as family and welcoming them in. But it's also a big job, especially if you're cooking a meal. You know, I mean, you got to get your menu together. You got to cook it, which, you know, we do a lot of stuff from scratch, so stuff does take a little bit to do. Then you got to make sure you have tables and seats and all that. And, you got to get all that together. You got to organize your living room. You got to kick the dog out so she's not under everybody's feet. You got to do all this. Got to drag the kids into cleaning their room so it's not a total you and you're not embarrassed. But you got to do all the stuff in order to get the people ready and get the house ready and get the meal ready and then serve the meal. We enjoy it and it is a lot of fun. But there's a lot of work involved. But here's the thing, one of the reasons about having people over is being able to spend time with those people. And if we're not careful, we can be so focused on the preparation that we miss the people. Which it was for the people that we put all this together in the first place. That's what's going on there. Martha wanted to have these people over for dinner. And they went. And so now here's what you have. Martha bustling all over the house, trying to get stuff ready, trying to get stuff cleaned and organized. Isn't it amazing how much cleaning you can get done if you know somebody's coming over in 5 minutes? But trying to get all that done, she has a sister, Mary. She's not helping. She's sitting there at Jesus' feet, listening to Jesus. Doesn't she know there's a house to clean and there's a meal to get on the table? Doesn't she know that there's stuff to do? And instead of doing that, she's listening to Jesus. But let's flip it. Do we not realize that Martha has Jesus in her house? How many of us would love to have had Jesus in your house? Jesus only preached on earth for 3 years. Could you imagine the joy and the opportunity of having Jesus in your house? And you are able to have a behind-the-scenes, very close, intimate afternoon into evening time with Jesus? She realized it, but she didn't realize it. Because remember her complaint. She calls out to Him and she says, Lord. She calls Jesus Lord. She doesn't call Jesus Jesus or Rabbi or Teacher. She says Lord. She knew it, but she didn't know it. She says Lord because she recognizes Jesus' authority, but she's complaining because Mary's not helping her clean the house. She is holding on to all the balls of life, worrying about this, and what she is sacrificing is an opportunity to sit at Jesus' feet and listen to the one she has just called Lord teach in her house. In her mind, it was more important to play the good hostess, which there's nothing wrong with, by the way, instead of having quiet time with the Lord. We run around like chickens with their heads cut off, thinking we have to do everything. I got to keep my job. I got to earn money to provide for my family. I have to spend quality time with my kids. I also need to spend quality time with my wife, and I also have to keep the house up. I got, It can go on crazy for the rest of our lives. Is that really how we want to live? Where we also have the opportunity to sit quietly with Jesus and to have time to just rest and recharge, to get back in line, spend time with God. Jesus says, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary had chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." Jesus knew what was going to happen to him. He knew what day was going to come. He was going to have to ride that cross and die. He also knew that he would be resurrected, and he also knew that a day after that he would be ascending into heaven. He knew he wasn't going to be on earth forever. He knew this. And so what he saw Mary choosing to be with him when Jesus was only going to be here for a very short amount of time. And he tells Martha, this will not be taken away from her because I will not be here permanently. I am not going to take this time away. Martha is carrying the big bag. Mary is carrying one item. Who's better off? Mary. Because she'd chosen what is better. Not even necessarily right. Again, Martha wasn't doing anything sinful. She just made a bad choice in comparison to the two. Mary was doing right. Let me tell you something about time. People will sometimes say, well, they're waiting for the perfect time to be saved. I've known people who were waiting for somebody's anniversary, or they were waiting for a holiday. I want to be baptized on Christmas. I want to be baptized on Mother's Day. I heard this one once. I want to be baptized on the anniversary of my grandfather's death. Okay. In other words, they're waiting for that perfect time. Or people say, well, I'll get back and more involved with the church family once my work slows down, or once my kids get a little older, or once I have fewer irons in the fire. That's a good one that people like to throw out. People say that they'll volunteer for more stuff once they learn a little bit more, or once they get to know more people. And stuff goes on. Here, let me tell you something about time. All right, and the thing is, we all know this already, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know. There is no such thing as the perfect time. It does not exist. There is always going to be something to get in the way. There is always going to be something to drag our attention away from the Lord. Always. It's not going away. Saying that I'm going to wait for the perfect time to get to know God more, to get baptized, or to take part more, to volunteer more, it's just like saying I'm waiting for the perfect time to have kids. It doesn't exist. It's like saying I'm waiting for the perfect time and the perfect situation in which to get married. It doesn't exist. All right, this is the same type of thing. It doesn't exist because time moves on and things change. And we might not have an old hang-up, but there's plenty of hang-ups waiting in our future. It doesn't exist. There is no such thing as the perfect time. So what we have been given is today. Now is what we have. What are we doing with it? Tomorrow's not guaranteed. In fact, we're still before noon. Lunch isn't guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed besides now. And how we're going to use now. We are busy and there's always going to be stuff. I remember when I was a kid, when I was a young teenager who thought I knew everything. When I turned 20, you know what my dad told me when I turned 20? I turned 20. I was no longer a teenager. I crossed that threshold from 19 to 20. My dad looks at me. Actually, he looked up to me because I was taller than him. And he said, "Well, you're 20 today now, son." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, since you're 20, I guess you no longer know everything. You're no longer immortal. And because you're no longer a teenager." Time does not stop. And even if you're a younger person in this audience thinking, "I got ages before I have to worry about this stuff." Okay. 18, right? Okay, let me tell you something. When I graduated high school when I was 18, I met Sherry, who became my wife, when I was 20. It's 2 years for you. I got married when I was 22. That's 4 years away. How long do you think that is? Time flies after high school. And it's going to go. There is no perfect time. Life will not give us just this shield of time that we can get our life together and start doing the stuff that we need to do. Life is not going to work that way. Satan won't allow it to. Because he's going to bog us down with everything that we think is so important. We have to make the choice to take the time we have to do the best with it, to not be so bogged down with all the junk that can weigh us down. Again, God had to put it in the law for people to take a day off. And that became a problem because you read the minor prophets, people were counting down the hours for the Sabbath to be over so they could get back to work and start ripping people off. People back then, not much different from people today. We need to take the time that we have and get back focused on what's more important. Will the world understand? No. Martha, who was a believer in Jesus, looked at her sister Mary and said, "What in the world is she doing?" She didn't see it. That she was the one with the issue of not seeing what was more important. We all have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 or 366 days a year, depending on leap year. Are we focusing on what's more important every day? And if we're not, and there's things in life that we feel like we want to do or that we need to do, but in reality they're taking us away from God, they're taking us away from that relationship that we can have with God, or they're taking us with the relationship that we have with our family. You know what? We might want to look at cutting that off and progressing on. It is not more important than our relationship with God. Don't sacrifice it. Don't play with it as being trite or unimportant. Don't play with it like it will always be there, and it'll be there once I'm ready to get in line with it. We're playing with time. Time's not on our side. And before you know it, it's too late. Life has gone by, and we're in our last days, or it could have been that we have died and we missed out on all our opportunity to live. And the musical Scrooge was based on The Christmas Carol, which if you're a regular member here, you know that's one of my favorite books of all time. But in the musical that was made in the 70s, starring Albert Finney, he's having a conversation with the Ghost of Christmas Present, in which the last thing that the Ghost of Christmas Present says to him is, "There is never enough time to do and say all that we wish. The secret is to do and say as much as we can in the time that is given us." None of us will ever have enough time to do everything we want to do. But how are we using today? Hopefully, we are focusing on what is more important. If we're not, take a break. Take a break. Take a breather and refocus on what is most important, our time with God. This morning, we offer the invitation. And we offer the invitation now. This is all the time we have. Our time is now. This is it. And in this invitation, we offer the invitation for those of you who might be hurting, who might be suffering, who might feel lonely, who might feel dejected, who might just feel like there's a piece missing. We would love to help you. We would love to adopt you. We would love to welcome you into our family. We'd love to befriend you. Or you might wish to tell us that you have ready to make the decision to be baptized, to have your sins washed away, to join in the death of Jesus so that you may join in the life of Jesus. Because the story of Jesus doesn't end in death, it ends in life. To be able to have the hope of an eternal home with our Father. We'd love to assist you with that today. And if you've been putting it off, waiting for the right time, waiting, I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect enough, that stuff doesn't exist. There's never the right time, there's never the perfect time, and there's never a time in which you will know enough or be perfect enough, because that is the entire point. None of us are perfect enough. It's a progression. We move forward. But whatever needs you have today, I pray that you will come down as we stand and as we sing.